This is, you may have mentioned it, but there's a viewer off of Twitter who asked if the university does or doesn't take federal money of any kind.
We participate in federal programs. We don't receive direct grants like many research institutions do. We participate in federal student loan programs and comply with all the regulations and rules, and we are happy to. This is across the line. This is where we're being singled out and being told to violate your religious beliefs. And like I said, this hasn't been asked of Catholic or Jewish, evangelical, Christian institutions in America before, but it is now.
So who's the singling out specifically towards?
Well, I think you'd have to ask the individuals who are developing the policy what their motivation is. They will say, of course, it's to expand what they call preventive health services, that was the policy objective, and that's why they wanted to make contraception free and a new entitlement for people regardless of their wealth, that they would simply be entitled to free contraception. That's a policy debate. Our university's not part of that policy debate. We have opinions like everyone else.
Troy, Michigan. Mary Ann, independent line. Go ahead.
Hello. I'm also a 12-year product of parochial schools, but my questions are, I have 4 of them, quick ones. They take a different perspective than the previous 12-year parochial student caller. My first one is Ave Maria tax exempt? Second, how can Ave Maria prove that it isn't money concerns rather than values that motivate their resistance? Third, how do you rationalize depriving those who are not Catholic who work at Ave Maria? How do you not provide them with equal services? And 4, why are you not looking at what is actually being proposed rather than what you're conjecturing could happen down the road, which probably wouldn't?
All right, I'll try to give 4 quick answers to 4 quick questions from Ann Arbor. Yes, we're tax exempt. Ave Maria's money concerns? No, this is actually, we are facing a grave threat of federal fines, and in fact this regulation has been prepared so hastily it's not even clear what those fines will be. The laws seem to indicate $2,000 per employee per year, but we've also seen that it could be $100 a day. It's not clear if the federal government would institute and manage these fines, whether it be the state Department of Insurance. It's all very up in the air, but it's the financial consequences are very grave. If we don't follow the law, it would be cheaper for Ave Maria to follow the law. So it's exactly the opposite of what you suggest. On the issue of non-Catholics and equal rights, we don't even screen our employees on what their faith is. They know they're coming to a very proudly Catholic university, Ave Maria University. So when they come to work, they receive the health benefit plan of everyone, and I don't think that's a discrimination. I think they recognize they're part of this organization, and they're proud to. Even if they aren't Catholic, they embrace the mission of the university and seek to advance it, which is to educate young men and women in the truth. And then finally, on the issue of why am I not reacting to what's actually being proposed instead of what I'm conjecturing, I'm reacting to exactly what the federal government has laid out in this mandate. We think it's unjust. We think it does not protect our religious liberty rights, and we're going to fight it.
When your employees come regardless of their religious belief, is it spelled out that they would not receive contraception through the health insurance program?
Absolutely. They understand that fully, and that's part of, but they also understand they're going to get an excellent health package, and they get other benefits from the university. And so this is not uncommon, and there are faith-based providers. You know, if you're working the Metropolitan Council on Jewish Poverty in New York City, Yom Kippur, you won't be working from sundown to the next day. This is just part of the fabric of life, and we've made accommodations for faith-based groups to be who they are without having to sell their soul to provide a public service or be in the public square. That's why I think you're seeing such a reaction from the Catholic bishops, because they really view this as an interference in their sovereignty and in their legitimate. This is how America was founded, to protect the minority viewpoints, the small faith-based groups, the small churches, the individuals with no religious belief at all. That was the whole point of the First Amendment. And I just think it's just curious that it's now being attacked right in an election year.
Braden's in Florida. Democrats line Doug.
Okay, how you doing this morning? I have a couple quick questions. First, I see this. What about the religions that don't believe in blood transfusions or taking blood of any kind? Are these organizations going to be able to say, no, we're not going to pay for surgeries, we're not going to pay for any type of blood? And see how the slippery slope, because any religion can claim anything. And the second thing I wanted to ask you is, does your insurance company cover Viagra and Cialis? Do you cover those services?
On the first
part.
On the first one, on the blood transfusion cases, that's a different case law. It's not related to what we're pursuing, and there have been cases. I recall a Santeria challenge regarding whether that was a religious worship in violation of Miami's civil laws, and so the Supreme Court will look at where your religious beliefs are infringing on the health and safety of others. No one at Ave Maria or anywhere at any faith-based organization is being required to avoid contraception. No one's being denied their access to contraception. That's not what Ave Maria is doing. They are free to access contraception and use contraception. So that's not even an issue. The issue is
who pays for it?
Who pays for it, and why are you forcing us to pay for that?
Long Island, New York. You're next. Joanne, Republican line.
Good morning. I'd just like to say thank you for your good work, and you're
Thanks.
just an excellent representative.
Thanks.
I too went to Catholic school, and although I'm not a practicing Catholic at the moment, I have used contraception and have never, ever gone through my health insurance to get it. But I see it as I've always been taught that life is not just for the privileged, for the perfect, or for the planned. And now the government is coming in and saying, oh, ignore that. Just let that go. That's silly. We're the government. We know best. I don't understand why everybody doesn't see it as an unconstitutional issue. I find it terrifying that the government is coming in and telling me to ignore my faith. So I just want to say, please, keep up the fight. Please, it is very important. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And you know, some people have tried to say, oh, this is a war on women. This debate is a war on women. And here's an articulate woman who has said she's used contraception, fallen away Catholic, who's opposing what's being done here by the HHS mandate. I mean, it just shows that many women in this country are bristling against this mandate of the federal government, and I appreciate your encouraging words.
Mark on our independent line for our guest Jim Towey, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Hello, Mr. Towey.
Hi, Mark.
I got a question for you. Actually, a series of questions, if you don't mind. The first one being, if I understand correctly, you were head of the faith-based program under George Bush. Is that correct?
That's right.
And you mentioned that you dealt with a lot of different folks of all different sort of religions. That's wonderful. But what you neglected to mention was that was set up to divert government dollars, federal funds, into the hands of various religious organizations. So, if you want to have government money, and you also mentioned that you get some money at your college right now, you kind of danced around it. You said you didn't get direct grants, but you get government money. If you don't want these problems of the government coming in with you, you need to stay out of my tax dollars and stop messing around with government.
Well, Mark, a couple things. Number one, when I was in the faith-based office and we looked at how the federal discretionary grant dollar was expended, only about 10% was going to faith-based organizations. And if you do a review of President Bush's 8 years in office, you won't see that money was being diverted to pay back evangelical friends. And in fact, most of the money went to Democratic supporting faith-based organizations. And so it wasn't a partisan initiative, and that wasn't even about federal tax dollars. And there's no record of that money being spent that way. So I just think that your first point there's no record to show that. And programs like Head Start, not even a nickel of the Head Start dollar went to faith-based groups at all. So that's just not true. And on the issue of staying out of the public square and being denied eligibility for federal programs, why would the federal government single out faith-based organizations which have existed proudly in this country for about 150 to well, I guess Georgetown's with 200 years almost. Why would you single them out and extort from them a concession in their beliefs in order to have them participate? There are some schools like Grove City, a great school that doesn't participate, Hillsdale, where they don't take federal money. We're a brand new school. Our students have been paying taxes. Their parents have been paying taxes. And our students are coming to be eligible for taxpayer-funded programs.